Rock and Roll Geek Show 413. From San Francisco, California, this is the Rock and Roll Geek Show.
This is the story of my rock and roll butler.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. My name's Michael Butler. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it. A very special show for you tonight. So if you send me emails and audio comments and show reviews and stuff, thank you so much for doing that. I'll play those on the next week's show. Today, super producer Shane Chisholm has pulled the coup of all coups, my friend. Or friends, if there's more than one out there. Super producer Shane Chisholm has lined up not one, not two members of Iron Maiden. What you're hearing in the background is Satellite 15, The Final Frontier, from the new album, The Final Frontier. He has not lined me up two members of Iron Maiden today. Shane Chisholm has lined up the entire band. That's right. Bruce Dickinson, Adrian Smith, Yannick Gers, Steve Harris, the greatest bass player in rock, Dave Murray, who am I forgetting? Nico McBrain, the kings of heavy metal, Iron Maiden, are on tonight's show, my friends, and I am excited. I did an interview with Iron Maiden. Lasts about 35 minutes. We're going to play a little bit of songs from the new album. Talk about that with the boys. That's right, I call them the boys. Right after this song finishes. But before this song finishes, I want to thank my sponsors. I have a brand new sponsor. Vegas Made for iPhone. If you have an iPhone, this app costs like $1.99. If you're going to Las Vegas, which I'm going on Sunday for the Vegas Rock Awards, and I'm going to be using this app. Vegas Made for iPhone. Find a restaurant, hotel reviews. You want to find, you're like in the middle of the night, need a hotel, or need to go to a restaurant. Find it right there on the iPhone app. Vegas Made for iPhone. You can share a hotel. You're in a hotel, you think it sucks? Go on the Vegas Made for iPhone. Give a review on the Vegas Made for iPhone app. There's maps on there. It's updated regularly with the latest restaurants, hotels, and nightclubs. Looking for late night food? They show you where the restaurants that are open right near you. That's right, Vegas Made for iPhone. They sponsor the Rock and Roll Geek Show. If you have an iPhone, let them know you support the Rock and Roll Geek Show by buying the iPhone, or send them an email. Send Hunter from VegasMadeForIPhone.com an email. Let him know you heard about him on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. He's a paid sponsor, and I really appreciate it, Hunter. And VegasMadeForIPhone.com. Also, AdamandEve.com. Rock Geek is the promo. Anything in the store, 50% off. Free shipping, 3 free adult DVDs for a little inspiration, plus a free gift. So sensual, I can't even mention on this Iron Maiden interview. Promo code ROCKGEEK, or just click the banner at rockandrollgeek.com. Once again, thanks Shane for lining this great interview up. I was nervous, but I think I pulled it through. We're going to let this song roll and go right into the Iron Maiden interview. Not one member, not two members, but all of Iron Maiden on today's Rock and Roll Geek Show, my friends. It's an exclusive! Iron Maiden, thank you so much for coming on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to have you guys on. I'm a huge fan. Saw you guys on not this most recent tour, but the last tour. I was very busy this most recent tour. Hopefully you guys are going to come back around to San Francisco. But the last time I saw you guys, I made these wristbands and I snuck down to the front I made like fake wristbands because they had wristbands at the show, and my friend Casey and I, we like made these fake ones. We came down, we were like 10 rows back, and it was such a fantastic show. You guys are one of my favorite bands of all time. And Steve Harris, as you probably know, I think you're probably the best bass player in rock right now. So it's an honor to have you on the show. So I want to talk about the album Final Frontier. I guess that's what we're going to talk about this whole interview. So I really appreciate you coming on with me. A crappy little podcast like mine. It's really cool of you guys to do that. So the album Final Frontier, it feels more like a live performance than a studio album. It's got kind of a prog feel to it as well, but, it feels like you guys are actually playing live in the studio. Could you comment on that?
For an album that's got a lot of prog sort of influences on it, it's very direct. It almost sounds like a jam going on. In fact, it's not, but it sounds like that. I quite like that. Very different for us, very different for a sort of vibe for Maiden.
It's very live, yeah. We approached it to be very live, and when we rehearsed the stuff before we went in for the recording, it felt really good that we could play these songs, live. I wouldn't say easily because there's quite a lot of time changes going on in some of them, especially the songs on the latter part of the album. And we've always tried to recreate in the studio, what we do live anyway. It's always been the purpose, the ultimate goal, really. And it's worked out really well. I mean, you can never really, pursue the live thing and get it, because it's just not quite the same.
Sure. So did you approach the songwriting, Steve, you in particular, the songs, they had the classic Iron Maiden feel to them, but all the songs are long, for one thing. Did you guys approach the songwriting and play on this album different than you did on previous records?
You could say, apart from the opening track, the second, third, maybe the fourth tracks are pretty straightforward, really. Yeah? I think maybe subconsciously I wanted to try it. We have got into a bit of a comfort zone.
Well, Adrian, your playing is shredding on this album, by the way.
A way of doing things the last couple of albums.
Sorry for interrupting.
I thought it'd be nice to do something a bit different as well when you're playing.
Sure.
We do a lot of guitar solos and stuff. It's nice to have something different to bounce off.
Yeah.
If you're playing over the same stuff all the time, you tend to play the same. So on a couple of occasions, it kind of shook things up a little bit. Some, playing over a 7/8 time or something, which we've never quite done before, right. Which sort of inspires kind of different ideas.
Right. I think one of the things I think when the fans listen to it, they are probably going to go listen to the first track, and it's going to be, wow, this sounds radically different from Maiden. But then when you get into this, I think it's probably one of the most progressive albums we've done rhythmically. I mean, there's so many different. Especially from Nico's point of view, from the drum patterns, we've kind of gone on a different path. There's some moments on the album which is exclusively, typically, this is Iron Maiden. But I think it's like Adrian's coming up with all these progressive passages, and I think it really lent well to this band. So it sounds Iron Maiden, and it's 2010.
Right,
we don't sound like Iron Maiden from, in the 80s. It's like a fresh approach. And I think with Steve, he's always thinking like 3 or 4 instruments down the road, what's going to be added.
Amazing.
So he's always thinking, okay, I know this song's progressing this way, and he's always thinking ahead about the next song or some ideas that he would add to. And then also we had a free rein really to go in and try out what we wished. If I had an idea, part of an idea for the song, you can just pitch it in. And you're in the studio, it either works or it doesn't. So there's a lot of freedom and a lot of expression on this album, and I think it comes across.
Yeah, sure. Well, you know what? I would like to play a little bit of El Dorado, the second song on the record. You guys have long enough time to be with me. By the way, thanks again for coming on. I want to play a little bit of El Dorado because this song is really good. So here's a little bit of El Dorado. Oh, amazing, man.
story on a cold winter's night. You'll be sailing for glory before you know what is right. So come over here now, I got a vision for you. It's my personal snake oil, it's just something I do. I'm a jester with no tears, and I'm playing on your fears. I'm a trickster smiling underneath this mask of love and death. The eternal lie I've told about the pyramids of gold. I've got you hooked at every turn. Your money's left to burn. You'll be wanting a contract. You'll be waiting a while. I'd like to give you my contact, but that isn't my style. Well, you only get one chance, and it's too good to miss. If I didn't lie to ya, then I wouldn't exist. Greed, lust, and envy, pride. It's the same old way. The smoke and mirrors, visions that you see are just like me. I'm a clever banker's face with just a little out of place. I know someone just like you know someone just like me. How the road will come and play. How the road will step this way. Take a ticket for the ride. How the road will streets of gold. See my ship is almost sold. You've got one last chance to try.
Oh yeah, I love that tune. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, so we've got a long interview ahead of us. So Steve, I have a question for you. Let me stop this. Steve, I want to ask you about the recording of this album, because you guys did use Kevin Shirley on this album, and I heard you went back to Compass Point Studios, and you haven't done that for a while. Can you tell me about the new the whole recording process of this new album?
Well, it was actually really good because we went back to Compass Point Studios. We haven't been there since 1986. We did 3 albums there. It was just great. We really enjoyed it. It was a really good vibe in there. We had 2 separate rooms, so we put all the cabinets in a separate room.
Really? Okay.
So we was all able to be in the same room with headphones, and normally we hate headphones.
Yeah,
but
me too.
The system that Kevin Shirley had was really, really good system, and right from the straight at the first note, it felt, it sounded great. Best
Got to have a good
setup we've
headphone
ever had.
mix.
So
Man.
it was a breeze in that way. Really, it was really easy. We just played. Had good contact with each other in the room. Nico's there, like Bruce is in a little booth there, but it's still glass door,
right.
so we could, interact with each other, and it was actually a really, really enjoyable experience.
Oh, that's great. So the song Satellite 15, The Final Frontier, first song on the album, I really like that song a lot, but it kind of sounds like a jam. Was that song recorded live?
No, we actually did a different approach on that song, really different. I just said to the guys, I want to go in and try a few different ways of recording, a few different ideas, and not necessarily record it all in one go. If you're doing a heavy part with a really good sound, we maybe do another heavy part, and then you can kind of put it together afterwards. And it was just a really different approach, but it worked fantastic. And I think we'd definitely try that approach again. It's the first time we've really done it like that.
Interesting. So Satellite 15, The Final Frontier, that song, it's kind of different than anything you've done previously. Where'd the idea for that song come from anyway, Steve?
Well, Adrian had the basic idea of the song, the intro stuff originally, and then I just basically took it and put it together with the other part and wrote the lyrics and stuff and all that and put it all together. And I'm not sure it's what Adrian really anticipated originally, because when he heard it, he went, "Oh wow, that's not what I intended," but it sounds really good anyway. So I think it sets the scene really good though for the album. It's kind of different, exciting, ominous, sci-fi all at the same time.
Right.
I got studio homes and sat down and wrote every day for a month, and that's one of the things that came out. I don't know where it came from. It's just very kind of a heavy, probably a bit more, I don't know, more modern, but certainly different to what we've done before. And you know, I played everything I had to Steve, and you know, he kind of has a vision for the outcome of the album. You know, so
right.
He liked that, and he wanted it as an intro, and also wanted it to sound different. You know, like a separate thing. We didn't want to, so we didn't play. We kind of messed around playing it as a band. We didn't. So we just lifted the whole thing from my studio on straight onto it.
Oh, really?
And put the vocals on it, you know.
Huh. So the song El Dorado that I just played, that was like the, you know, you guys gave away that as a free track, just kind of like a taster for the new album. Why'd you choose that song as the song you're going to give away?
We chose El Dorado because we thought it'd be a good live song. I mean, it's difficult when you choose a taster, especially for an album like this, because I think it's so diverse that I don't think any one song is particularly a taster for it. Really, it doesn't really represent what the album is. So you could have chosen
that
probably
song, though.
You know, anything from the album really. But I think it's a very good live song.
Yeah.
You know, when we rehearsed the song, it felt good playing it. It's a good live, you know, rocker really. Bit sort of heavy Thin Lizzy type of vibe.
Yeah.
The thing I really like about the song is the story of the song is great. You know, the words and whatnot, but the actual arrangement is really, you know, it's right in your face. We've got a bird's eye to start, which we like. People are going, what's coming next? You know,
right.
But as a drumming point, it's not over challenging. It's the main thing in that song is where the groove is. If I get a little in front of it, it's especially in the solo section and on the choruses, it really can lose the swing of the song. The essence of it isn't sort of so much just nailing the meter on a clock. It's where it moves. I really like the arrangement of the tune. It's great. The breakdown in the middle, then the ending section. It ends how it begins.
Yeah, Nico, the drums are freaking amazing on that tune. One more question about that song, El Dorado. It seems to be, to me, I've never listened to the lyrics that closely, but Bruce, the lyrics seem to be, you know, kind of relevant to, you know, what's going on in the economy today. What do you think?
El Dorado, it was weird. My dad, like 5 years ago, was sitting there, you know, in his rocking chair, going,
right,
this is all going to end in tears. He
5
said,
years
you wait.
ago?
He said, this whole thing is going to fall down and everybody's going to be broke. For me, I've lived through. This is the third big recession that I've lived through. Like really big, major one, you know. One was in the early 70s.
Right, yep.
When they switched off all the power to the whole of the country and we were all living by candlelight for 3 days a week. Then the next one was under Margaret Thatcher.
That bitch.
Interest rates went sky high and all these people lost their houses.
Wow.
And I remember then, all these people bought houses thinking, look, houses are going up, just buy a house. It'll always go up.
Yeah,
endless growth. Nothing can stop it.
No.
You know, and you get this kind of casino thing that people like play the casino with their lives, and El Dorado is about human nature. It's a timeless tale. It's like yeah, the streets are paved with gold, dude. Just, you know, and it turns out they're not. It's a crock of shit.
Yeah.
You know. But meanwhile, you know, the guy's sailing away in his boat. You know, here you go, guys. Every man has a canoe. I'm the only guy that's got the paddle. Did I tell you that? No, sorry. I'm just sailing away. You know, We're doing El Dorado on the tour, and it's relatively straightforward, apart from the fact that the vocal is an absolute pig.
Really?
You know, when it goes up to the key
it's
change
high.
for the chorus, it's a nightmare. You know, it's just like put your balls in a vice and squeeze really hard.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
My fault.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, I want to play a little bit of the next song, Mother of Mercy. Just listen to a little bit. These songs are all long, so I want to play a little bit. I'm going to fast forward probably like to the solo or something like that. So bear with me, you guys. All right, a little bit of Mother of Mercy.
Falling rain, getting ready to begin. where I give no grace. I'm a soldier of war.
Yes.
About the things that I have done. It shouldn't take a fool to see that I believe. Accept the consequence, repent for what I've done. You tell me what is certain, but I'll tell you what is true. You tell me what is honesty, when all around is death and cruelty. A faking element is fine, not giving in to our desires. Within the truth that lies within the only thing.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit on this now. Yeah, nice one. Mother of Mercy. All right, so it's been 4 years or something like that? Yeah, actually, just about exactly 4 years since the last album, Matter of Life and Death, came out in 2006. Would you say this album is a progression from the last album, from Matter of Life and Death?
I think this album is a progression from the last album because I think that musically it's just gone even more prog probably than the last one. You know, we were sort of edging that way anyway. There's always been a prog element to the band anyway.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
But I think this last 2 or 3 albums has kind of gone even further that way. I think this one has also, especially the latter part of the album, the more you get into the latter part of the album, the more proggy it is. And it's just a natural progression for us, really. I don't know if it's anything to do with the fact that we're a bit older now, that, you know, maybe we couldn't write a song like The Trooper anymore, I don't know. Or wouldn't want to, perhaps. But the songs do seem to be getting longer, not shorter. I'm not really sure why that is, but
every record you do get, it's an exciting time because you're bringing new ideas out into the open, and I just think it's a standpoint of where you are now, and I think that you get everything together and you do the best album you can possibly do at that moment.
Right.
And I'm really pleased with this, and we all are. It's a great sounding album. I think it's opened a few different avenues up for the band. We've gone to a few different places. After a band, you've got to be organic. You've got to move all the time. You can't keep looking back and parodying yourself. You've got to move on to different pastures. And I think we do that every time we make an album. Try to take it somewhere different. You know, there's a stamp on it. It's Iron Maiden. It's always going to sound like that because you know this is the band that's playing. It's Nick on the drums. You know, Steve's playing, but it's going to sound like Iron Maiden. But the important thing is to try and take it somewhere else without losing that identity. And I think, you know, we've done it again, and I'm really proud of it and very pleased with it.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier. You guys worked with producer Kevin Shirley again. You seem to come back to him occasionally. So what do you like so much about working with Kevin Shirley, Steve? Because you co-produced this with him.
Well, Kevin is great to work with. I mean, he's, you know, he'll try and get the best out of us, and I think that the more he's been with us, the more he's realised the strengths of the band. And the fact that the basic elements of the band are there and don't need to be kind of messed with. Not that he wanted to mess with them in the first place, but it's just kind of, when you're getting to know, when you're working with someone, whatever, you know, maybe they try different things. And I think he's found that the strengths lie in is not changing too much, really, in the essence of the band. And working with him is great. I mean, he's, you know, we were trying to find somebody to replace Martin Birch because Martin Birch was so good and easy to work with.
Great.
And we found Kevin,
yeah.
And, you know, he's in a lot of ways he's very much like Martin Birch in the sense that, you know, and have a good laugh. You can have a lot of fun making the album.
Sure.
But it's serious business when you get down to recording and no messing around really as well. You know, kind of, he doesn't pull any punches as well when he wants to say something, which is great, which is just the way we like it. We much prefer people to be straight up and honest with what we're doing. He's certainly not backwards and coming forwards with that, as far as that goes, which is great. and we like and respect him, and so it works very, very well. We really have a lot of fun when we're recording. I think that's the important thing when you're recording. It can be, kind of laborious sometimes when you're recording, and you need to have that fun element as well as the seriousness.
Right. I have a question for you, Bruce. The song "Coming Home," I really like that song. It's kind of like kind of a ballady song. It sounds like a really personal song because you were like, you flew the plane around the last tour when you guys, did that Flight 666 documentary. So I guess this song seems real personal to you. Can you tell me a bit about, what inspired you to write the lyrics of "Coming Home"?
Initially, I started writing the song about other people coming home. And then I thought, why don't you just write a song about us coming home? Us, the band, all of us. Because it's what we do. We spend our lives coming home. And we've just been on this huge tour on this big silver bird flying around, doing all this remarkable stuff. And I thought, well, maybe I'd write a song about that. And I thought I have to be careful here because it'd be really easy to get cheesy about this stuff.
Sure.
I tried to do two things. One was to get some sense of the odd feelings that you get when you leave a town, or in our case, a country or a continent, and you leave it behind. You've had up close and personal with 80,000 people.
Right.
Massive adrenaline highs, euphoria, whatever. And then the next morning you get up, have a cup of coffee, have a shower, you're gone. And there's some idea of what that feels like. And in addition, what it feels like to me, sitting at the front end, having a foot in both camps, having the perspective of not just being on stage doing that, but also being, flying this magnificent thing through the sky and seeing all the sunsets and seeing the runway lights come up through the mist in the morning and touching down and going, we're home. The experience of being on the airplane just seemed to accentuate the poignancy of it. You're not just piling into a tour bus and flying off, but it's all of us and our equipment. It's the whole circus gets in, and you don't just drive off down the road and wave. You leave the earth.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that question. I want to talk about, flying the plane and all that. But let's hear a little bit of "Coming Home" first, if you don't mind. All right, let me cue it up here, you guys. I'm sorry, this is kind of unprofessional. The show, most of the time, this show is a train wreck, so I apologize. All right, here we go. A little bit of "Coming Home." This is 5 minutes and 52 seconds, so we'll probably skip through it. So I really appreciate you guys sitting with me through this. It's really nice of you guys to do. All right, starts off not like a ballad, but it gets kind of tender jammy a little bit here. Spinal tappy a little bit, Bruce, but I like it.
As the waves and echoes of the towns become the ghosts of time, over borders that divide the earthbound tribes, no creed and no religion, just 100 winged souls. We will ride this thunderbird, sail the shadows on the earth, 1,000 leagues away, our land of birth. To our
right, I'm going to turn it down. Your manager's giving me I'm getting the vibe from the manager. He doesn't want me to play these whole tracks. So, but thank you guys again for doing this. So I want to talk a little bit about, you guys flew around the world on your own plane, like a huge plane, not just like a Gulfstream, but you loaded all the gear up in this huge plane. It was in that movie. So what was that like?
Being on the 757 Air Force One, it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, first of all, I suppose it was, I don't know, pretty stressful for Bruce, I'd say, because he had to sort of set a lot of those things up with other people, obviously, but and they weren't 100% sure that it was all the gear would fit in properly and all the logistics of it would work as well as it did. So the fact that it went so plain sailing, I think, was a bit of a relief. Although we didn't know that at the time.
Oh,
I only found that afterwards when he did the actual interviews. And I watched it back and I was like, oh, he wasn't that sure, was you? I'm glad he didn't let us know that.
Oh, boy.
So that would have been really pretty scary, I think,
if
we'd known that they were that nervous about it. But everything went very well. And being on there was just fantastic. I mean, obviously, long distances and everything, no matter whether you're in a private plane or not, it's still tiring. And all that, and we all got sick, as everybody knows now. But so that was tough as well. And I think the first 2 weeks of a tour is always tough anyway. And we don't usually film or record anything really towards maybe the end of a tour, because obviously we're a bit more together then.
Right.
So they had elements of all those things going on, and so it was quite a lot of pressure really in the first couple of weeks, which you could probably do without really. But it's just one of them things, you just get on and do it. But it was good fun. It was really good going to different places. The fact that we could actually just go where we wanted to, when we wanted to, is absolutely amazing. And once you've done that, really, it's difficult to go back to flying commercial, I think, afterwards, especially with all the restrictions and security problems there are these days. So, it was wonderful in that sense.
So, Yannick, I got a question for you, if you don't mind. I want to talk about the next song on the album, The Alchemist. So tell me a little bit about that song, Yannick.
Yeah, I mean, everybody brings lots of songs in, and I brought a lot of kind of edgy, progressive things in. And I thought, I might need a rock and roller. So I brought that one in, put together, and it just had a lot of drive to it, kind of old Maiden kind of feel to it. I thought I'll throw that one in. And people seem to like that one.
So on here?
Well, The Alchemist is about Dr. John Dee. Originally, it was going to be called The House of Dr. Dee, and Yannick hated the title. So I said, well, we'll change it. Oh, shit, I don't know what we're going to call it. I said, well, we'll call it The Alchemist. He was the chief scientist to Elizabeth I. And as you can imagine, an Elizabethan scientist was a kind of a cross between a lot of different disciplines, So he was an astronomer, he was a navigator, he was an alchemist, because most chemists and scientists were also alchemists. He was a prominent occultist as well. And he didn't have any psychic abilities himself. So he needed people to supply the visions which he would then interpret. He met up with this guy, Edward Kelly. Edward Kelly was the best medium that he'd ever encountered. Edward Kelly saw unbelievable things. He couldn't believe what he was told.
Yeah, I heard that guy was kind of like a con artist, though.
We're not sure whether Edward Kelly was a fraud or not. He was certainly a fairly disreputable human being.
Yeah.
And basically, he was a con artist. And not only did he take John Dee and all his friends for a lot of money,
exactly,
and destroyed John Dee's reputation, he also screwed his wife along
the way.
Really? Huh. In a bit of Elizabeth, it was a bit of early Elizabethan wife swapping, and so people would go, "Who is this guy?" I say, "Well, there you go, look him up."
All right, let's hear a little bit of The Alchemist. 4 minutes and 29 seconds. This is the shortest song on the album. Here is The Alchemist. Oh yeah, classic Maiden.
Across the sky, stranger than the truth I know before my open eyes. I have dealt in mysteries and trickery, all the right to entertain. Looked into the abyss and called it flames.
right, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here. A little bit farther.
No, you speak with demons you cannot command. Even as I looked into the glass, there I was blinded, burning by the bones like Schall. My hands not pushed inside it. You have taken up my wife and lain beside her. Now the flickering on my hands, the timbers burning. My dreams of empire for my frozen queen will come to pass. Know me, help me just I am taught to thee, and this was my house. I was the keeper of the books. I had the knowledge of the scrolls, but now through ignorance and fear, I cast the shadow through the years. Nervous, I will return to this land. Read the weather ruins instead. Chain of the demons set free. Strange alchemy.
Nice. All right, next song in the album is called The Isle of Avalon. How that song, I don't know, tell me about that song.
It's one of those things that kind of writes itself, if you know what I mean. You come up with the original idea, and it just took a life of its own, and it was just, I had the music finished, in a day. And the more I listened to it, the more the word Avalon came into my head. I don't know why. So I looked it up on, did a bit of research, and it was something about it was a medieval, fictitious,
kind of metal
place,
sounding too,
where the lost souls went or something like that. So I thought, this could make a good track, good. So I suggested that to Steve when I played it to him, and he liked it. I said, well, we'll back on it Avalon, and he kind of looked it up, and he took that idea on. It's a feeling of, the intro and the wind blowing, this kind of feeling, again, of desolation and isolation. Maybe ties in with the first song a little bit, it's kind of interesting.
The Isle of Avalon the legend was that it's supposed to be the Isle of the Dead, really. There's lots of legend based around that, and that people went in there to try and supposedly rescue the dead, the souls of the dead, and the legend was that only 7 came back. So it's quite a good legend. And quite a good story to, once you get the idea of the story, there's a lot you can do with it. So I just really tried to reference as many things in there as possible that was related to the story, because, the corn doll and everything like that, it's all, related back to sort of kind of medieval history as well. So, which I really liked, all that kind of stuff. So that was really probably one of the easier ones to write, really, because there was a lot of material you can use. In fact, the hardest thing was trying to basically cram in as much information to it as possible. And that's always the restriction when you're writing lyrics, really, is because you're trying to cram as many ideas into a short space. And also, if you've got really strong melodies and you're trying to stick to the melodies, then sometimes you can't always use the words you want to use, because I work really to the syllable, and you know, if you've got a word that's got 3 syllables and you only need 2, then you have to find another word, and it's never quite meaning the same as what you want it to mean. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. But you know, you just have to kind of work through it. And you know, I've always worked to the melodies all the time. You know, the melodies come first, and the lyrics, you know, are important. They're very important. But
sure.
you know, they do come second, in my opinion. So you know, I always think that, you know, really probably 80% or more of our audience, the first language is not English anyway. So they're going to listen to the melodies first, and then maybe try and understand the lyrics afterwards. So I think that the melodies are the most important thing, really.
All right, let's hear a little bit of Isle of Avalon. Love the drivingness of it and the little thing on the hi-hat here, Nico. It's great. Almost a little like a blues progression. Brings me closer to the Isle of Avalon. I can feel the power flowing. Well, you guys okay with me doing this, I hope. I hope so. Thanks a lot, once again. Yeah. Nice, that's a great one. So, Bruce, you sing really great on that one. I want to talk to you about the next song, Bruce. The song Starblind. What's tell me about the creative process of writing the lyrics for that song, Starblind.
I thought, well, let's start from point of nothingness. So so floating around in nothingness. What's floating around in nothingness? Well, molecules. What's beyond molecules? Well, the idea of spirit, the idea of, you know, what happens when your body dissolves, when your ideas, your ideals, you know, what happens when all that's left is memory? Where's memory live in the universe? Where are all these memories? You can't touch them, you can't measure them, but they're there, they exist because they have effects on people. So where is all this stuff? Just imagine there are creatures out there that live in this world that we can't see, and they're in us the whole time. They're in us and they're through us, and they're, you know, they're talking to us. You know, and we just can't see it. It's kind of reincarnation, sort of. You know, trying to prod at what must it be like to give up the idea of a body. Could we cope with that? You know, are you still you know, you're still really attached to your ego that it must really hurt. You know, maybe you're not ready to give it up. You know, so it's a really speculative song.
All right, let's hear a little bit of Starblind here, Bruce.
I've seen in this world coming to an end. My reflection fades, I'm weary of these earthly bones and skin. You may pass through me and leave no trace. I have no mortal face, so Oh, the winds are whispering, you may hear me go. We can shed our skins and swim into the dark and void beyond. We will dance among a world that orbits stars that are outside. On the oxygen that trapped us in a carbon spider's web. So the winds are whispering, you may hear the sirens of the dead. Let the elders to their heart and meant to satisfy our lust. Leaving them.
All right, we'll wrap it up in a second. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, I'll just have a couple more songs. I really appreciate you sticking with me. So, a little bit more of this song, thanks. I only have about 3 more or 4 more questions. Thanks, okay. All right, let's start by. So I'm getting the call from your manager here, so I'm gonna have to wrap this thing up soon. But thank you so much, you guys, for sticking me with this. The next song is called "The Talisman." How'd that song come about?
What's great about Maiden is the song can come from anywhere. You can have an idea that gets pitched into something else and put with another idea that makes a song, or you can bring a full song completely finished. And I'm looking for a melody idea, and either Bruce or Steve will put something in that works great. Yeah. And with Talisman, Steve had this great idea straight away for it, and in all honesty, I had other songs I was thinking of, and that particular one didn't strike me as being great till he put a brilliant melody and song idea on it, and it just knocked me out when I heard it. It's great.
With something like that, which was very sort of ominous and medieval kind of nursery rhyme type of vibe.
Yeah, that's what you want, though, kind of.
It's actually better when there's more space and there's less going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that was the idea, thinking behind that one, really.
All right. So let's hear. I'm running out of time, so we'll get a little bit of the Talisman. All right, here we go. A little bit of the Talisman. Thanks again, you guys. Nice little acoustic guitar intro. Wish I could do a classic albums revisit track and go over all the parts, but I know we're running out of time. So.
About the port and contemplate my
another Spinal Tappy feel.
Will I ever see my countrymen again? As the captain calls us on the deck, I take my things and walk to the harbor side. I glance back one last time. Fleeing our nation, our problems.
All right, I'm gonna have to fast forward here a little bit, you guys. A little bit faster. Yeah. I like that one. It's got a catchy chorus. All right, I'm turning it off here. Okay. So the next song, Man Who Would Be King. So Dave, you had songwriting credits on this one. So how'd that song come about, if you don't mind telling me?
I had an idea for a couple of songs actually that I gave to Steve, that I demoed and burnt them onto a CD and gave them to him. And I guess, both were about 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes long, basically the general structure of an idea for the song. And he listened to it and he liked them, and so going over the material, he decided to glue them together, so the two songs became one big one. And the intro and the end, I specifically want to keep to that kind of, the original ideas I had. And so that came out faithfully, so I was really pleased with that. And in the middle, you have this kind of epic rock piece. I think Bruce does an amazing vocal treatment on it, and because especially the slower passages, there's kind of quite an emotional content in there that I think he really brings out. So I'm very, very happy with it. And I think it turned out about 8 minutes long, maybe. So one of the short tracks we've done.
All right, listen to a little bit of this one now. Turn it up.
His reflection of the beauty around him, feeling empty inside. He is running from his wildest thoughts. He is running from his everything. He is looking now to find something, hoping he could be saved.
Hello? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I know it's going a little bit long, but I really appreciate you sticking with me for. Yes, I have one more. I have actually 2 more questions, if you don't mind. Okay. Well, no more than 5 more minutes. Thank you so much, Mr. Sir. All right. Thanks. All right. I'm getting the callers. All right. One last song now. When the Wild Wind Blows. We won't play it, but I just want to find out. Steve, what was the inspiration for When the Wild Wind Blows?
Well, that's really based on an animated movie that I saw years and years ago, and I had a VHS of it. It was that long ago, and it was just an animated movie which was supposedly about the end of the world, and a little old British couple sitting there making a cup of tea and whatever. Yeah, well, this is going to be the end of the world tomorrow, dear. What do you think we should do? Should we have a cup of tea now and make some
sandwiches? I think I saw that. Yeah, a long time ago. I remember that.
In their own little way or whatever. And it was,
that movie.
I remembered it really, it just really conjured up a lot of things for me.
It was a cool flick.
It inspired me to write something. I've been inspired by lots of things, whether it be books, films, whatever, over the years, all the kinds of stuff. Right, and you need something like that. You need a spark to give you some sort of thing to get your teeth into lyrically. And we approached it really differently. The way we recorded it, we experimented different ways of recording that we haven't done before, of like carrying on stuff rather than just saying, oh, this is 8 bars, whatever. We carried on more, with the stuff and did stuff in different orders as well. We didn't record it all in the order that it was meant to go.
Right,
we just recorded it when we had good sounds for heavy stuff. We did the heavy parts and so it all done separately, and it worked out really, really well.
Yeah, I wish I could play that song, Steve, but your PR person is really being an asshole to me. I apologize for calling him an asshole, but so I have one last question now. I guess maybe I'll close off with Wild Wind Blows. I don't know. Thank you so much, Steve Harris, for doing this, and everybody in Iron Maiden. You guys are. I can't thank you enough, man. I mean, I love Iron Maiden. So, the title, Final Frontier. Is that like a suggestion? Maybe it could be the last Iron Maiden. What do you think?
Hopefully not. I mean, hopefully not the Final Frontier. I think everybody knew that when we put this album out, people were going to be wondering about the title, whether it's the beginning of the end or the end itself. Hopefully not. We hopefully can go on a few more years, and I definitely would like to make another album. I don't know if the rest of the guys feel the same way. I think they do. It's just a question of physically whether we can, time-wise, because we're going to be doing a long tour with this album.
Right.
And there's other bits and pieces in the pipeline also, so we'll see what happens, but I don't see no reason why we can't make another album.
That's great. All right, Iron Maiden, I thank you so much for you guys for coming on. You didn't have to come on a crappy podcast like this one, but it was really cool of you guys to do it. The Final Frontier, Iron Maiden... Go out and buy it, my friends. Iron Maiden, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I think they already hung up. All right, thanks, Shane, super producer Shane. Man, what more can you say about a guy like that? Got me fucking Iron Maiden, man. Let me get to the last song. Let me start the last song here. Super producer Shane got me all the guys in Iron Maiden. That is fucking awesome, man. We're going to close out with When the Wild Wind Blows. Thanks so much to Iron Maiden for coming on. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this exclusive interview with Iron Maiden. A little track by track with the boys. Don't forget, support my new sponsor, VegasMadeForIPhone.com. If you have an iPhone, go out and buy this. If you're going to Las Vegas, I'm going this weekend, and I'm going to be using the Vegas Made for iPhone app. $1.99. If you don't have an iPhone, send him an email. Let him know you heard about him on the Rock and Roll Geek Show. I'm sure he'll appreciate it, and I appreciate him supporting the Rock and Roll Geek Show. And thanks to Adam and Eve for sponsoring the show. Rock Geek, 3 free DVDs, 50% off anything in the store, free shipping, and a free gift just by using the promo code ROCKGEEK. And thank you, my friends, for listening to the Rock and Roll Geek Show. There's lots of podcasts out there. You don't have to listen to this one, but I'm going to take a sip of this fine canned Sapporo Japanese lager. To all my friends, if you're listening to the Rock and Roll Geek Show, you're a friend of mine. I'll play your audio comments, your emails and stuff next week. When the Wild Wind Blows from the new Iron Maiden Final Frontier album. And if you didn't know by now, what you just heard was what they send to radio stations. The questions are silenced out, but the answers are there. They've been doing it since the 70s, my friends. So thanks for listening to my little dramatization. Here's Iron Maiden. We'll talk to you next time. rockandrollgeek@gmail.com, rockandrollgeek.com, area code 706-621-ROCK. Go to the forums at rockandrollgeek.com as well. We'll talk to you next time.
Have you heard what they said about us all? Do you know what is happening to just every one of us? Have you heard? There will be a catastrophe, the light we've never seen. There will be something that will light the sky. That the world as we know it will never be the same. Did you know? Did you know? He carries everything into the shoulder, not a fuss. mistook an earthquake for the fallout. Just another when the wild wind blows.
It's a rock and roll geek train wreck.